Hey Ali, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, Asher? How you doing, man?
Pretty good. For anyone who doesn't know you, I always like to ask every guest, who do you say you are?
My name is Ali Awad, and I am the CEO lawyer, baby.
Awesome. And
That's what I say now. That's what I say
okay,
now.
okay, my bad. Keep going.
The brand, part of the work that I do, I've just kind of like created this CEO lawyer brand and identity. Um, but it's also because like I'm actively growing a business too, you know.
Hmm,
So anytime I have an opportunity to bring up my brand, even like now, look, I'm wearing even my CEO lawyer shirt.
I like it.
There's always I'm always thinking about promoting because that's part of my job as the CEO.
Hmm.
Like part of my job is making sure the company still gets the exposure, still gets the growth. So but if I was introducing myself to like family, or friends,
Hmm.
hey, I'm Ali Awad. I'm a Palestinian Muslim living in Atlanta, Georgia, the wife and two boys.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on the family. It's good to see you guys have continued to grow and kind of knowing you. I guess we probably met from fifth grade on through high school, I think.
Yeah.
From it's funny, I remember that what was that show we had to put on where it was like doing the dumbbells and stuff up on the boxes, uh, doing like a choreographed thing to Cotton Eye Joe or something like that.
Oh yeah, we do you have that video? We should play that video.
I don't even know where that video lives, but for some reason that song lives rent free in my head just from that moment where it's like you go to a school, like that was me moving to Dalton for the first time, and it's like, hey, I'm going to a school where it's all fifth graders. Like nobody else is there. They're building this new middle school for us, and like that's gonna be our thing. And like having introductions to just people from all cultures like yourself, like Vinamra, like um his name escapes me at the moment, but just seeing like in a small pocket like Dalton, you still have many cultures that interact with each other aside from like the dynamic of just like white and black. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, do you
Do you
mind
know do
sharing?
you know Muhammad Chaudhry?
The name sounds really familiar. And I think that's kind of another reason for doing this is like trying to go back and I'm like, man, I've forgotten a lot. Like like life goes on and the experiences have kind of built, but I'm like,
Yeah, but I mean it's been like 20 years now.
yeah,
Like we're getting old, dude. They call us Unc now.
right.
I've over the past year I've been called like Unc or Uncle or some version of it, even in Arabic too.
Mm,
So, um,
it's weird.
are you an uncle? You have any nieces or
Yeah,
nephews?
yeah. I've got one niece, two nephews,
See, you're an
and
uncle.
yep, I'm an uncle.
You're Unc.
That is so weird. It's funny, I started doing jujitsu and I guess kind of tying back to things that we did from before. Like I think your family did taekwondo or
Yeah.
karate, which was
Yeah,
it?
yeah. My brother still does it, and we actually went to a tournament a few months ago.
Mm,
No, not even a few months, maybe literally last month. But it was just my brother competing.
gotcha.
I was there to watch and spectate, and cheer.
Wow. So like how'd you get into that or like how'd your family come to Dalton?
So I did a series of podcasts myself, and I decided I started doing them like 5, 6 years ago,
Okay.
talking about personal injury and business and all that stuff because I love business and law and um, but this year I did a podcast with my family, and I was like, you know what? Let me interview all of my siblings and my dad, my cousin, and long story short, I discovered that we got into martial arts as a response to my oldest brother being bullied in school. So
Mm,
my dad saw him getting bullied and he's like, I don't want my kid getting bullied, partly
mm,
because he was an, Arab kid, didn't really speak English that well,
right.
new environment. Um, and so that's also why, my brother and I really studied English and became attorneys
Gotcha.
because kind of like a way to defend ourselves, literally,
That makes
verbally.
sense. Right.
But my dad wanted us as kids to be strong enough to defend ourselves physically too.
Mm, I like that. The thing that's interesting about that is like his decision to make that really made you guys like a name. Like everybody associated you guys with like, hey, these guys have been studying Taekwondo, they're black belts, they go to tournaments, they do this. And it's like aside from the self-defense that you guys knew, it's like you were also entrepreneurs, like doing Joker's audio. Like that was something that I always knew was associated with you, where it was like, okay, hey, you're smart, you're going to school, you're studying this, you're studying that, but like you've always been very quick to think on your feet, to be like not just going with the flow, but having like a plan to look ahead, to be like, okay, hey, yeah, you're going to school, you're doing what's expected of you, but you're also like doing what's expected of you at home. And like there's always been this forethought of like, okay, like how do we stay ahead of the curve and not just wait to be told what to do or be told like, okay, you've got to go to school, you've got to do this. Like I guess it's always interesting where different people choose their majors based on this or that. And sometimes it's like you're not allowed to pivot or like make a decision, or you have to kind of follow what was done before you.
No, it's so interesting that you mentioned that because I started writing a book 5 years ago. Like when I
Mm,
turned 30, I wanted to document the way that I was thinking.
mm,
And I wanted to write all of these major life lessons that I learned from my dad and from my environment. And one of them was answering the question, what are you going to do for the rest of your life?
mm,
And spoiler alert, the answers in the book, but it's also you just have to commit to being a lifelong student.
mm,
And as long as you're always learning something, you're always growing, you're always pursuing other opportunities. The fact that you're a problem solving, constantly thinking, quick moving person makes you
mhm,
adaptable to any environment.
mm,
And so it was very important for me to have a bunch of skills and study a lot of different things at once, especially when I
mhm.
was younger. And so you saw that because, I mean, you got to know me in fifth grade. And
Yeah,
even in fifth grade, I was already doing martial arts.
yeah,
Um, by high school, we already had Joker's Audio.
yeah.
We were running that business and selling and installing car audio and electronics in people's cars in high school.
Mhm,
In college, we had grown that business, expanded another one into Kennesaw. And that's when I moved and finished my bachelor's degree in Kennesaw.
mhm,
But all the while, like I was running a business and going to school, running a business and going to college. And the business was only a piece of it. Like I also had online businesses that I was running myself.
mm,
And so it was a really big deal for me to constantly be learning and trying new things. And martial arts was one of those things that I kind of got lucky to be thrown into,
mhm.
but it turned me into a very disciplined person. Also made me a very athletic person.
Yeah.
So like I was super committed to being an athlete and competing.
Mhm,
And I feel like this mentality of being a competitor, you have to choose to be a competitor, and you have to choose to like want to dominate the competition or at least choose to be in the competition.
right.
And I don't know, I haven't had enough life experiences to know all the different competitions and games that exist. So I might as well put a lot of fishing lines out.
Mhm,
And so what you saw of me in middle school and high school and college was just me putting out a bunch of fishing lines to acquire skills, to get new experiences, to figure out how to get my family out of poverty.
mhm,
And what happens is like sometimes you'll put a fishing line 15 years ago
mhm.
and you're just now doing something. You're like, oh, wait, I have this skill or I have this contact or I have this experience that I can go back to.
Right.
And so as a kid, I was exposed to so many different experiences that in adulthood, I have a problem solving mentality about everything that comes my way,
Mm,
everything. And most people don't have that.
right.
And it's kind of like it makes it into a strength, really, being a creative, like visionary type, problem solving type. It makes me an ideal type of CEO.
Mhm.
Whereas entrepreneurs, like the entrepreneur wants to take the risk. Like I thrive on that risk. The
Yeah.
entrepreneur is the person that's like, hey, I want to be involved with building the business. Like I love this stuff too,
Hmm.
but maybe I'm not as like risk seeking, or maybe I don't have some of those experiences that you have. Because you have to understand, like now I have 140 employees, 9 different divisions. Like
Hmm.
I have to know enough about every division to be able to test my director. And if I don't, I have like an advisor there or some sort of like additional third party company that's helping me. And
Right.
so it's like there's a lot of things that you have to be able to juggle at once to run a big company. And I feel like those experiences as a kid um, made me into a more adjustable
Yeah.
and adaptable CEO.
Yeah. That that's a great I think that's a great way that you really relate those things because it's like insane where the internet's kind of come up where we've gone through like the highs and lows of like, oh, there's a big boom, there's like this new technology. Now people are talking about AI and chat GPT and things, but it's like at the end of the day, the people that cut through all the mess are the ones that put in time and effort and actually try things to like, okay, this fails or this works. Here's why it does or doesn't work. And like having studied it and actually gone through it where it's like there are some people that have like ridden the wave of like grifting, where I guess that's a big thing that you have older generations or even people that are just like not as seasoned. They're not picking up on it, but then it's pretty easy to tell the difference between a grifter and someone that's actually put in the time to learn like yourself to be like, okay, hey, I'm not just talking out of my butt or out of my neck because I sound eloquent. It's like, no, I've actually had to test this since childhood and like hear many people that can vouch on, okay, hey, if Ali says this, it's because he's gone through the steps and actually put in the work. Like you can go and see, okay, here's where I got the degree from. Here's not just the degree, but here's people that I've done business with, and here's the end results of what's worked, what hasn't. Like going through the steps of writing a book and saying, oh, I'm going to document this, or I'm going to interview each of my family members and actually take the time and engage with them. I think that shows multiple things of like the hard skill as well as the soft skills, where it's that you you take the action, like you say, you get into the fire of like, okay, I want to learn this thing, and then you follow through on it. So I think if there's anything I can say I've always admired about you is like that willingness to try something and like go forward with it to where it's like, okay, like in looking back on my life and the different people that I've met, I'm like, okay, there's a reason like I might not be as risk or I might be more risk averse, but there's always a part of me that's like, maybe I could dip my toe in a little bit. It's like I do know people that are a little bit more gung ho than I am, but it's like there is something fun about just getting like a little bit of that rush or adrenaline from like, okay, I did this, I didn't die, I challenged myself, I went a little bit past the
So,
boundary,
so,
and
so
then it's
you're
like,
so it's
let's
really
go back.
you're talking about like fearlessness.
Yeah.
Uh, Fearlessness is a very important attribute. I attribute my fearlessness
Hmm.
to my belief in God
Hmm.
because my religion tells me that you should only fear God and you should not fear man.
Right.
And naturally, it means I should not feel any circumstances or fear any circumstances created by man. So I really prioritize the most important things. Like I prioritize my religion and my family, my the people that are directly around me, my community, my health, my
Hmm.
finances, my fitness. Um, and and I prioritize them that way because those are the things that are the most important to me in that order. I don't have time for anything else. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you're just focused on things that improve you and you already have a guidebook that tells you like, hey, there's no reason to be scared. Like fear
Hmm.
is the thing that scares, like fear kills most dreams, you
Yeah.
know? It crushes most people's spirits. I feel like you went through an evolution though.
Oh,
Like you went from being a more shy and timid person, and then over the years started kind of like changing and becoming more fearless. Do you feel like there was a pivot in your life when that happened?
yeah. I'd say there's been a couple pivots, like we talked about starting the podcast, might have been right around that time, but even from like I'd say from the time that we met, elementary school, like getting into wrestling for me was like a martial art that kind of taught me how to
Yeah, I
better
remember the
handle
wrestling.
myself. Where it
Yeah,
was
I
like,
remember the yeah.
yeah, and like now being able to do jujitsu where it's like I can take some of that and learn new skills, but like learning how to face fear head on when it's like you're matched up against somebody that might be bigger than you or more skilled. And it's like, okay, you're still in a safe environment where this isn't necessarily life and death, but having to make the decisions of like, okay, where do you want to go to school? Cool. What do you want to study? It's like I could kind of fall into this or fall into that. And like it just happened to work where I could go along and kind of just follow the rules, do what I was told. But like one of the main pivots that came for me was going from co-oping to then getting my first full-time job and just seeing that like my co-op wasn't really working to my favor. Like I did 3 semesters doing the same job, like interning, and then it's almost like I was practicing insanity. And I'm like, okay, I went from going to Southern Poly, transferred to Georgia Tech, and it's like I don't think I'm vain or I don't think I have to be vain, but it's got to mean something if you go to one of the top schools, but then you end up making the same amount or just not doing more than just getting by. And then going from there to like, okay, you're working this job maybe 4 years, 5 years in. And I just got to kind of a breaking point where I just felt overwhelmed to where it just doing enough to do a good job and kind of trying to shed that shell of just being the nice guy, being good enough, but never like vocalizing my opinions. And I guess podcasting was another pivot where it was like, okay, practice getting in front of a camera, having done things like Toastmasters and getting up, rehearsing a speech, or just getting comfortable with getting to the point. I'd say I've had multiple pivots, and those were some of the points that really highlighted it, where it's like I came up against an opposition where it's like either someone personally challenged me or I really had to challenge what am I doing? Why am I not happy with this? And it's like, is it in my power to change, or am I going to keep blaming someone else and be like, okay, so long as they give me what I need, then I can be happy and go forward with that. So it's not until
Trying
like
to change? Were you trying to change like your life situation, like your income?
I was trying to change more how I was being received or how I was allowing people to treat me. And then it took me a minute to kind of realize that, okay, like just because I present a way doesn't mean someone isn't still going to like just take advantage of me unless I just state this is what I want and I move in that direction. Like not being double-minded to say one thing and then go another way just because it's got to appear like, oh, this is someone that just wants to go with the flow.
So you really wanted respect from others and you wanted to be able to show decisiveness and that you're not a pushover.
Yeah.
So you started doing wrestling to kind of defend yourself, and then you got into jujitsu.
Hmm.
Then you started doing Toastmasters and things like that to get kind of more involved in the public setting.
Yeah.
Uh, do you think this story is common for a lot of people?
Yeah, I think so. Because and even interviewing a lot of people, that's who I've tried to focus on when I say maybe everyday people, but I've been trying to put like a specific name to it to niche down, so to speak. But it's like you have the people that are the support system or the backbone of society, or people that kind of try to do right. And sometimes that's where, like, also growing up with religion, sometimes I've had to challenge myself into like, am I doing what I believe, or do I actually have an understanding of what it is that I believe? Because, like, having a Christian background, it's like a lot of times I've run into, I don't know if you'd say contradictions, or like where different people will say things where, like, some people have very strong convictions, but then on the other hand, it's like the conviction might change based off of their background or like which way the wind's blowing. And sometimes I've like leaving high school, going to college, I tried to put the blame on them or the onus on like, well, I'm just following what so and so said. But then in college, I tried to put the onus on me and say, okay, let me figure out what's being said and who's kind of laid things out over time to point to something that's not just changing over and over and over. Because, like, to your point, if you don't have something solid that you're based on, it's like you can always, like, you're putting energy in all the wrong areas. And that's where that fear kind of creeps in because you're wondering, am I doing the right thing? Because you're not even sure about what your source or base of information is about.
I I think based on knowing you in middle school and high school, and we went to Dalton State together too, right? For a couple of years.
No, well, I only went to Dalton State whenever we were doing like the pickup games for Frisbee.
The Frisbee, okay.
Yeah.
You were like, especially in the earlier years, you were a more extreme version of shyness than
Yeah.
most. So you were more shy than others. And but you would still be in like public and social settings where you'd still appear shy. And
Hmm.
so um I think people would poke fun at the timid person because they know they're not going to say anything.
Right.
And that person's nice, is like a big teddy bear.
Hmm.
But that's the kind of the brand, that you got.
Yeah.
And everyone has a different brand in different settings, like my brand as a kid in my house was that I was lazy.
Mm.
That was my brand.
Wow.
So
I
is
would have never guessed.
yeah. You you want to know why branding is so important? It's
Yeah.
because as a kid, I was branded in my household as the lazy one.
Mm.
So anytime my dad wanted to like take us all somewhere, he knows that like Ali would be the last one. He's always going to be the last one to the meeting. He's always going to be the last one to show up. He's never
Mm.
on time. But I was also the kid that got straight A's and didn't have to really study. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, like who's really the lazy one? Like, I don't have to sit there and study. And
Mm.
this bothered a lot of people because I never actually had to put in as much effort. Alhamdulillah,
Mm.
praise God. I did not
Yeah.
have to put in as much effort academically as other people to get the same results.
Yeah.
And so I understand now that I had the luxury to have multiple experiences as a
Mm.
kid. So I could easily maintain that 4.0 GPA. I could maintain the business relationships. I can maintain the eBay store and whatever I was selling online.
Mm.
Um, I can maintain all of those different relationships, going to the karate studio and still training and still winning first place at the tournaments. Like, because I didn't have to dedicate so much time
Mm.
to just studying, I had that luxury of time.
Right.
But was number one because of God, and it was just we were very lucky to be
Yeah.
blessed in that situation growing up. And I was very blessed to have those parents, like a very strict and disciplined father that made sure that all of his kids were very disciplined. We
Yeah.
had to be at the top of everything that we did, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's how we rolled. It didn't
Right.
matter what we touched, whether it was academics or martial arts or business or anything. We
Yeah.
had to be number one. That was the standard in my household.
Mm.
And as the middle child, two older brothers, a younger brother, two younger sisters, I had to really stand out in order to get rid of that brand
Right.
and turn it into something that's a better brand where people associate me with something positive. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, brand to me is very important. The image that other people perceive you is definitely very important, especially
Yeah.
in a business setting.
That makes a
Um,
lot of sense.
but it's not like I don't live my life to please others.
Right. Right.
I just care that the perception that people
Yeah.
have of me matches the person that I am.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
And to be honest, yeah, I'm late to meetings a lot of times, you know. I do operate on Middle Eastern time. I'm working on it. But
Hmm.
but I am a very, very reliable person when it's important and when it matters. When
Yeah.
it matters, I got your back. And the people that are closest to me, they understand that. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it took me, I had a different brand, so to speak. You were like kind of the shy, timid person. You wanted to break that brand and change who
Yeah.
you were perceived. And I don't know I mean, what was my brand, in school? I don't know what my brand was in
Well,
school.
I mean, it's funny because like your brand in school seemed like someone that wasn't just going to be pushed around. Like you weren't afraid to like stand up for yourself. Yes, you were the straight A student. You dabbled in a little bit of everything. Like you did did you do like the AP, IB courses, like being in that type thing, doing the technical
Yeah.
electives and things like that? I
Yeah.
think that was a lot of what I saw as your brand. And for me, I'd say my brand was like I didn't really mind being like the teddy bear or like the quiet shy guy. Nice.
Yeah.
But like the thing that annoyed me or the part of the brand that I wanted to shake was that when people thought the big teddy bear would just be something that you would poke at because it's like I wouldn't snap, but like on occasion when someone kept poking, pushing and prodding, it's like they would maybe push me over the edge to where I'd yell. It'd either be like real timid, quiet, or just like explode screaming. And people would be, oh my God, what's he gonna do? Type thing.
Do you think people just like
I think
they
they
thought
enjoyed
you would
it.
never retaliate, so you were an easy target?
Yeah, I think 100%. And it wasn't until like I did wrestling because I did it sixth grade through 12th grade. And that was about the last time that I wrestled. And like I didn't really start jujitsu until like the last 3 months. But a lot of those skills, like you were talking about, sending out that fishing line, having done those things really built me up. And I think I would get random like compliments about my wrestling from people that were either on the football team or people from track. And it's like I was happy to be there and like doing football and track, just having something to do after school, like having being able to participate with people socially, like having come to the States at the age of 7 and like learning the language. It was maybe easier for me where I didn't have as much of an accent, but it's one of those things where it's like some people gave me a little bit more respect, but then at the same time they kind of left me alone. So it's like we could always hang out with like the ragtag group of like, okay, wanting to be a part of the cool kids, but then being like, okay, you don't quite fit in. Like go hang out with like the people that hang out with you. And
Yeah,
like,
that's how I felt. I didn't feel like I was one of the cool kids.
right. But it's like sometimes I could see myself being like a try hard, but even thinking back to like I remember having in my head to like do something entrepreneurial, but not really like pursuing it all the way. Like I remember trying to make stress balls out of like balloons and flour and like, okay, cool. Somebody liked it or like buying cookies randomly from the cafeteria and just giving them out to people to, I don't know if it was something to like curry favor or just to kind of maintain who it is that I was and not at some point, I think it might have been not to jump too far ahead, like later in college when I kind of sat back, or it might have even been in high school when you start looking at things like Facebook, MySpace, and people are putting on their, oh, this is their top friends and things like that. And you're like, oh, I thought I was friends with this person. And then I just embarrassed myself saying something that's like, oh, this is my best friend. And they're like, I don't know you. And it's like, oh, never mind, just kidding, haha. And like you try to laugh it off. And it's like, thankfully, it's not, there wasn't any type of bullying that kind of like followed me, but at least being able to do sports was something that was, I felt like I could develop there. And then getting into engineering or like doing the technical classes with where you play on computers, like you engage with people there in a way. And it's like, whoever you are, however people perceive you to be, it's like, that doesn't really matter in those areas because they're not there to like spectate you. They kind of leave you alone. They're busy doing their thing and you're busy doing your thing. So at that point, it's like going from high school to college, I felt like that was a much needed um, breakaway to get around either more like-minded people or just people that were much more different from me to where it's like, okay, I'm not trying to meet people's approval. I get to be a little bit of myself, whether it's
No,
like,
it's the brand. I mean, you had a brand in middle school and high school of the shy kid, and that's someone. And I'm sure it
yeah,
started changing a little bit in college because other people perceived you differently. And
right.
so, bro, literally yesterday. Okay.
Mhm.
So this is the importance of brand. Yesterday, someone texted me, someone that I've known for like 15, 20 years. And because we're Arab, and we grew up in Dalton, Georgia, huge
Mhm.
Mexican town,
Yeah.
spoke Spanish with a lot of people. I had, very big curly hair, so they would call me Borrego. And then sometimes, like Borrego for sheep. But then
Yeah.
sometimes, because I'm Arab, they'd call me Camellito, like little camel. And so
Oh,
now, as CEO lawyer, this
yeah.
dude is texting me like, "Oye, camellito, ¿qué está haciendo? Necesito ayuda." Like, yo, little camel boy, I still need your help.
Oh,
And it's
man.
important to not take yourself too seriously because people still perceive you as that brand from 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
It's not their fault that
Right.
I changed my brand. They just know me as that person from a long time ago. And
Right.
sometimes your friends and your family still have a brand about you and an image that you can't shake. And
Yeah.
it requires you to change your environment and go somewhere else and become a new person, or at least become better at showing off the person that you really are,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
developing that character and that outward appearance and that discipline and that conviction, and then coming back and saying, I'm unapologetically this person.
Yeah.
And whoever that person in your life is that like puts you down and keeps you in that old brand, you have to shut it down and say, hey, I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me like that anymore. But for this guy, oh yeah, Capito, I'm like, hey, bro, like I'm probably gonna cuss him back out in Spanish, and
Yeah.
it might be $1 million case. Who knows? It's just that's just the relationship I have with him. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And I completely agree with you there because it's like to the point of having gone away, developing who you are as a person, regardless of the brands that people may still associate with you. It's like at least he sees what you do now as CEO lawyer, and it's like, hey, this is something that I remember you from back then, but I see what you're doing now, and I can like see a value where you can help me, and eventually that can help yourself. So it's like being able to like kind of grow up and being like, okay, I'm not in high school anymore. I don't have to worry about name calling. Like even if somebody starts name calling me today, it's like, okay. Like in my mind, I just think to myself, oh, that's cute. Like I
You're
get,
over it. It just kind of you
yeah.
it pushes off.
I'm like, yeah, that would have bothered me 15, 20 years ago, but it's like I can't let that ruin my day. Like, what am I gonna do? Go in the corner and cry? And then it's like, and then what? But it is funny, like being able to have things where you can just, it might have bothered you before, but now you could just laugh at it. And that's been a great part of just like the evolution. And like you said, now we're unks and it's like, it's not bad. That was the whole reason why I brought up the jujitsu thing, where it's like rolling with high school students now or people that are in college and like all the way ranging to people that are in their 40s, 50s or older. It's like you just see the range of how someone is. And I kept wondering why a younger guy who's called me sir over and over. And I was like, I don't mind it. But then I was like, oh, okay, he's a high school student and he's wrestling and things like that. And I was like, oh yeah, that was part of our culture where it's like you show people that are older than you respect. But then as you get older, you're like, sir's my father. Like I'm I'm just my first name. Like, don't do that. But then just seeing the respect offered, it's like, okay, I I respect it. I'm not going to reject your respect because that's how you're being brought up. It's like, hey, by all means.
You know, part of shaking off the brand is changing your environment, but also you making the conscious decision to not put up with other people's bullshit anymore,
Mhm.
you know. And you kind of have to pick and choose your battles,
Oh yeah.
you know. It's like for me, I the interesting thing was my mom was the one that didn't believe I should be an entrepreneur.
Mm,
She's the one that was like, look, it's just safer to work with your degree. Um, because she grew up in a very scarce environment in Gaza,
mhm.
and she was always worried that, you run out of money or, you're unable to pay the bills, you're unable to cover the lifestyle. And so the safest thing is just to go get a job.
Yeah.
And it absolutely is. It definitely is the safest thing, especially when you cannot afford to take any risk. or if you have a very low risk tolerance.
Hmm.
But being in middle school and high school, um, under my family's roof, all the money, whatever we made in business, would all go into one pot. That was very low. There's no risk. I could take as much risk as I wanted.
Yeah.
So I started selling stuff on eBay in 1999, and I had a full-fledged like eBay store in middle school. Like my mom would pick me up from Dalton Middle School in our old beat up Nissan Sentra so that I could make it home to package up these amplifiers and ship them, all over the world.
Hmm.
That's what I was doing when other kids were like going home and like, maybe playing outside or playing video games or whatever. That's what
Yeah.
I was doing in my spare time. And then right after that, you're going straight to, karate class, martial arts training, preparing for a tournament, preparing for work on weekends. So my dad kept us busy, you
Hmm.
know, and it like the thing that changed was when I got out of the house
Hmm.
and started living on my own, and I'm like, yo, I could just find a cheap place to live, $1,000 a month in rent. I'll get a
Hmm.
roommate, they'll pay $700. Now I just get, whatever utilities and I'm good. So I can like keep my living costs under $1,000 a month, all
Yeah.
inclusive. I'll just go to my mom's house on the weekends and get a bunch of food, I'll take my I'll take my dirty clothes and laundry because I don't want to buy a new washer or dryer. I'll take my dirty clothes up on the weekends and then my
Hmm.
mom will wash them. I'll spend the weekend in Dalton eating good, probably making some sales at our family audio shop,
Yeah.
uh, and then going back and working. So I didn't have any risk, and it was a very good opportunity for 3 solid years to build up my law firm and build up my business.
Hmm.
And other people don't have that ability because I didn't get married until 2018. By
Right.
then, I'd already kind of had laid the foundation for my business and had the years of experience and assessed sort of the risk and the market.
Right.
And I've already built a brand, right? And so all of the things were kind of lined up. And most people can't take that risk. And
Right.
it gets more and more expensive to become an entrepreneur these days.
Yeah. I guess did we talk about it earlier, or how'd you get into eBay and like just getting on there and knowing, "Oh, okay, I can use this, I can sell," rather than just I can go online and do chat rooms or play games, or like what gave you the entrepreneurship bug at that time?
I mean, I'd always been an entrepreneur, man. Yeah, I'd always been an entrepreneur. Um, the entrepreneur bug started when I was 5, and
Mm,
I have it all. I wrote out all these stories in my book, but one of the stories is um, I was selling pictures of Dragon Ball Z characters in
mm,
1995, and so my dad was an engineer, mechanical engineer.
mm,
He came to the U.S. seek a better life for himself and his family, but then his dad died in early mid 80s. So my dad
mm.
had to go back to the Middle East, spend like 10 years there during his prime years from like age 25 to 35.
Yeah.
Um, and um, he spent all that time bringing his family from overseas to America and kind of like establishing his family here.
Mm,
And because he didn't have citizenship status, he wasn't a citizen until 2017. He had to figure out how to make it work without being a citizen.
yeah.
And so sometimes, you want to go and get a loan at the bank or you want to go and set up a business. There's all these different impediments, and your kids are young, so it's not like you can put anything in their name. We were all
Right.
citizens.
Yeah.
Um, so he just had to make do with what he had. And so entrepreneurship became just a survival mechanism
Mm,
for us.
gotcha.
And it became the thing that my dad valued most was our ability to become financially dependent.
Mm,
And so if you're one of 5 or 6 kids and you have the ability to pay for your seat in the house and you're profitable, so like you also pay for
yeah.
other people's meals and the roof over their head, and you're like, yo, there's a net income. Like I like that kid.
Yeah.
So part of me thinks that's why my dad considers me to be his favorite. Uh,
Gotcha.
but yeah, it was for sure. It was a sense of feeling appreciated
Mm.
for my entrepreneurship is what made money for the family. And
Right.
so, yeah, man, like as a kid, I was making a lot of money for a kid, right?
Yeah.
I was doing like online businesses and stuff. I remember one week, there was one week where I exceeded $10,000 in sales from these amplifiers. And
Mm.
what I did was we had these wholesale accounts from our car audio shop, Joker's Audio.
Yeah.
So we set up a wholesale account with a dealer who was liquidating these amplifiers for like 300 bucks. I'm like, dude, I'll buy all of them. And that was maybe 100 grand worth of inventory.
Yeah.
But I'm like, give me 90 days to pay them off.
Mm.
That's called the net 90 terms.
Yeah.
Um, and so he sent them to us. We had a good brand, a good reputation,
Yeah.
and I started selling and posting them before they even landed.
Wow.
By the time they got to us, and I was studying the market, I was seeing how much I could ship them for, how to set them up. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales that I was running on eBay in middle school. I don't know if I exceeded 1 million in sales. Like realistically, I think that's a big number,
Yeah.
but I know for a fact it was hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. And it kept going through college. In fact, I paid for my college lifestyle and first year of law school cash out of pocket from these mini amplifiers that I was selling on eBay.
Yeah.
It was part of a liquidation. We bought this entire factory from China. My
Mm.
brothers and I started creating these car audio subwoofers. And the one of the items that they had were these micro amplifiers that they used to sell for motorcycles. So
Hmm.
I took all of them and I
Yeah.
just hid them in my house, hid them in my basement. And I just posted them on eBay. And I'd sell them for 200 bucks. When I really needed money, I'd drop the price to 179. I'd sell a couple and then
Hmm.
I'd bring the price back up to 199. And I sold all of them online. And so that's kind of how I've always been an entrepreneur. Like I funded
Yeah.
my lifestyle through entrepreneurship. If there's something that I want, I solve the problem through entrepreneurship.
Right. Wow. I like that. That's pretty neat. And it's things like that that kind of remind me and kind of encourage me of like people that I've rubbed shoulders with or people that I've been around, like getting to know a little bit more about your story to where it's like, it's not just magic that happens, but like you said, coming out of the circumstances where it's like a survival thing, but then the more you practice something, the better at it that you get. And it's not like you're just up and doing something. It's really tied to, okay, your family business is already in car audio. And then even one thing I knew about you, I think I'd asked you once, like, how do you know all these car names? And I think you said it so plainly. I didn't get it until later, where it's like, okay, well, if you're driving around, you notice this car, you notice that car. If you like study it like you'd study anything else, you'd be like, okay, these are the type of Toyotas. You could look at it in a catalog, or you could just look at it on your day to day and be able to recall this is this type of car, this is that. But also working in the business where you're dealing with cars, it's like it's intuitive that you would know what products you're dealing with and where sound amplification would go, like what fits best with this car versus that car. And it's like, okay, like you're trying different things, but you're not also just like doing them randomly and just being like, oh, I hope something sticks. And then like if it doesn't, like you practicing something that's reinforceable. Like we started with religion. I also grew up in a strict religious household, and it is something that I kind of respected about it. I know earlier I mentioned how sometimes it feels like things can people can change their mind about things, but at least one thing my parents have always encouraged me to do is like, this is something you have to do. Like you need to, yes, we'll make you get up 5:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning to do devotionals, but like you have to develop this relationship and you have to do this practice. And like, of course, you have chores that you're asked to do. If you're doing school sports, you have those things that you have to be there at a certain time and rehearse over and over and over. And those hard things for like scheduling are hardly ingrained. So it to your point, it goes back to the branding thing of like the things that you practice, they help develop who you are. And then it helps you repeat what you can do successfully versus like, let me ask you this. Is there something that you were either curious about or tried and it just went horribly wrong? You're like, okay, yeah, let me just focus on what I'm good at and not. that other thing?
Yes, for sure. Skateboarding, just
Mm,
never really got into it. Um, Playing guitar, like I can do the bare minimum, but not really a skill.
yeah,
Uh, Piano, never really dedicated much time to it, not really much of a musician. Like even like singing and practicing, like that's just not something I'm good at. I'm sure I can practice it.
yeah,
I hate when people say, "Oh, I can do anything set my mind to." Dude, I cannot teach you brain surgery, you fucking idiot. I cannot
yeah,
do that. You know what I mean? Like you cannot just learn brain surgery.
right.
Um,
But you're
and
not
so
just grasping at those things randomly. These are things that you're like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. You tried, and it's like,
Well, the reason we
like,
use that example is because maybe people can understand that, hey, this is
right,
something that's hidden. Usually you can't open up people's skull and go into the spine and start
right,
poking
right.
things if you've never, right? Um, and
But
so
I was meaning
there's
more
a,
though, like when you say playing guitar, piano, singing, things like
yeah,
that. It's like, oh,
the
like I
point,
saw
the
them on
point is,
American Idol. Nah, I think I can go sing in the shower. And it's like maybe I keep singing in the shower, not like try to get up on stage and do that.
um, not necessarily. No,
Mm,
I believe I could. No, if I wanted to, I
mhm.
believe I could excel at any one of those things. That's not the
Okay,
point.
gotcha. Okay.
The point is, it's not worth my time to try to learn that skill. The risk reward ratio isn't necessarily there. Like
Mhm.
me twisting my ankle is probably not something that makes sense for me during my lifestyle right now. And there's a risk of doing that. But
Right.
can I still maintain shape and do other things to be physically fit? Absolutely. So, do I want to learn how to play piano and all that? So there's definitely things that I've tried and I'm like, I'm not really good at that. I don't
Mm.
have to get good at it.
Right.
It's not
Right.
worth my time to get good at it.
Gotcha.
Um, but if I wanted to get good at it, I would turn it into a business and I'd figure out a way to make it profitable.
Mm. I see. So your motivation is primarily, hey, I need a return on my investment on this. And if it's not worth it, it's not really something that I'm like, I'm not
Yeah,
really sold on this.
for
Like,
all things that can be purchased, if your hobby requires spending money,
mhm,
then you should figure out a way to make your hobby profitable.
yeah,
If your hobby is something much bigger and deeper and more valuable than money, like family and relationships and God-fearing relationship, these things are way more important. They can't be purchased with money.
mhm,
So there's the things that can be purchased with money. I want to solve those hobbies in a profitable way.
mhm,
So when I buy watches, I like to buy them at the bottom of the market. When I buy exotic cars, I'll hold on to them for a specific period of time during the depreciation cycle. When I buy real estate, I try to line up certain things so that I'm using at the least amount of cash to
yeah,
get my, return on investment. When I structure the compensation packages for my employees, I'm meticulous with how the cash flow is set up. Um, and yeah, I pay attention to all of those things, and I've also worked as an employee, so I know what it's like to be on the receiving end, and
mhm,
it has to feel fair, you
yeah,
know, because I want the team members on my team to stay, you know,
right,
and if I can make it an enjoyable experience where they can make decent money and hopefully grow and continue their education, then you've kind of checked, the three main boxes, and hopefully they'll stick around.
yeah,
But this is all part of why, and it really goes back to our main point of like trying out new things and always trying to learn new skills. Um, Part of this is you have aspirations of becoming a different person or being perceived as a different person.
mhm,
And for me, it's like just as a kid, money was important because we didn't have any of it.
yeah,
And so the ability for me to build a business that could change, my family's trajectory and my, hopefully future generations, that was very important to me because my family, escaped genocide. Um, and so, and it could have been me,
yeah,
right? Like that also could have been like I could have been the one that's in Palestine, in Gaza right now. And so I always think about that. And I've also visited family overseas and I've seen kind of how they live. And I've seen that they're very similar to us. They're just as sharp and witty and funny.
mhm,
They just don't have the opportunity. So there's a sense of gratitude in all of this that's kind of underlying.
Yeah.
that I'm just grateful that I get to do this. I'm grateful I get to spend my Friday morning hanging out with you. I have a really awesome schedule now. I get to do fun things whenever I want. Like there's still a lot of stress in business. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's always fun. There's always something exciting happening. I get to do what I want, when I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want. And I earned it.
Yeah.
I earned the right to do that. And it's good to I'm not, I didn't even really think about it until now. Like people like you who've known me and kind of like seen that evolution, you're like the biggest voucher, right? You're like, yeah, no, that's the guy he's always been, you
Yeah.
know? And that's be thankful your brand isn't one of being a thief, right? Or,
Yeah.
you know, being a coward or someone that always runs away when they're, in fear. At least you were just timid, I
Yeah.
don't know, said mine was more like a nerd or something, or a salesman, hey, get away from that nerdy salesman guy. But at least people still know, who you are, and they'll respect you. At least you're a big kid, you
Yeah.
know? I'm a small kid, so I had to also like defend myself, with a loud mouth.
Hey, you made up for it. Like people would know, hey, you step to Ali, you better watch out. Either you get
Yeah.
kicked in the face or he'll shut you down. He knows his stuff. He's not just gonna let you talk circles around him. He'll talk circles around you first.
Yeah, it's part of the experience too is I ran this car audio shop in Dalton on Fifth Avenue for a few years, and then like in the mall in Walnut Square Mall. I don't think it's called Walnut Square Mall anymore. It's maybe called Dalton Mall
Mm.
for like 10 years.
Yeah.
During that time, like, I had tens of thousands of conversations with people, you know. So I got very experienced at talking to people, gauging them, figuring out what gets them ticking and how to get to that sale. And, like not every situation is one where you can, close someone. But
Mhm.
I'm good enough to where I could close just about anyone who has the ability to close,
Yeah.
right? But I also draw a line too when it comes to like ethics. Like I don't want to force someone to do something, especially if it's not in their best interest.
Yeah.
Uh, and the way I solve that problem is I never sell anything that I don't think is in other people's best interest.
Yeah.
Very simple. But those 10, 15 years of sales experience were also something that I had as an advantage over other people. So when you
Right.
say, like, don't talk circles around him, he'll talk circles around you. Yeah, because I've seen it. Like I've seen people lie. And as a kid, as a 12-year-old kid, I had conversations with 32-year-old adults who were trying to lie to me and manipulate and cheat and steal, and I could figure them out. And
Mm.
sometimes I'd get taken advantage of. And so I learned from those mistakes very early on. And to this day, there's a lot of adults in their 30s and 40s and 50s that still don't have the skill. They don't have the ability to identify when someone is lying to them or trying to take advantage of them or manipulate them.
Yeah.
You know, asterisk C Donald Trump. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, most people are they're just sheep. They follow the crowd. And I think you made a conscious decision to step out and be like, yeah, I don't want to follow the crowd. I want to be my own person. I want to do my own thing. And I did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's more fun this way. It's a more purposeful life. There's still work. Don't get me wrong. Like I
Oh
still got shit to do.
yeah.
Yeah. Like it's like I'm not saying I'm vacationing all the time. I have a lot of stress, dude. The other day I found a white hair.
Oh, just one?
Believe that? Yeah, can you believe that?
That's it.
Yeah,
I'm,
no, I
I'm
had
pretty sure I
one.
got plenty here, and then like I started to get some up here, and then after I think from 2019, it just started to fade back a little bit. But it's like, hey, I
Yeah.
remember I would shave my head sometimes in high school, and it's like it's not a bad look.
No, it looks good on you. I can't rock it though. Yeah, I can't rock it. But yeah, hey, every white hair that I see, the price goes up.
Hey, it's only fair. That's experience.
So it works out.
Hey, well, before I let you go, let people know where they can find you and get things like your book, and just be on the lookout for what you've got going on in the Atlanta area.
I'm CEO lawyer on social media. That's where you can find me. And What was the other question? You said the book. I
Yeah,
have a copy of it here. And the book's actually on Amazon.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
it's called The Laws of Victory.
Mm,
And I put it the cheapest that I could possibly put because I don't make any money on it. It's $6. Um, it's like a 2 hour read. It's called The
gotcha.
Laws of Victory.
Okay.
And
I might
most
look
of it
into it.
is, yeah, most of it is like life lessons that I apply to this day, but then
Yeah.
a story attached to it from my childhood.
Mm,
So how did I learn the lesson of never buying retail? Like I hate buying retail. I don't like buying retail price.
mhm.
The only thing I will buy at retail is when I'm at a restaurant and I'm buying, food, and then maybe certain items of clothing because I need them, right?
Yeah.
But I'm obviously like can't negotiate with, the utility company. Those are necessities. But
Right.
everything else, like I'm trying to buy wholesale. And so there's like, a bunch of stories attached to that. And then there's um, uh, stories about how I don't want to ruin it for you. But all of these are life lessons. Some of it is attached to entrepreneurship, but
Mhm.
also just how I think people should perceive their life as a lifelong student.
Yeah.
I think it's good. It took me 5 years to write it.
Oh,
The Laws of
congratulations, man.
Victory. Yeah,
Laws of victory.
yeah, man.
Awesome.
Asher, thank you for having me today. It was fun
You're very
catching up with
welcome.
you.
It's good to see you, Ollie. Keep up the
Yeah,
good work.
likewise.
Take care.
Take care. I'll talk soon.